Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
The first 10 seconds of Ascension have to be the most engaging first 10 seconds of a map thus far. The player slowly descends on a lunar lander with rockets and cosmodromes in view. Suddenly, they're inside a room with a giant, metallic, phallus-shaped device, slowly spinning to a stop. And suddenly, the color bleakens and it's black and white. And only now may the player move. We gotta go for a lot here, don't we? This room is rather open and a lot easier to survive in than most spawn rooms we've seen thus far. Quick Revive sits in a corner, while the M14 and Olympia remain the available wall buys. Similar to Kino, there are 2 levels to this spawn room, this time a singular staircase connecting them. The player has the ability to drop back down to the lower area in a couple of places from up here, a good option for any sticky situations. This area is actually a reasonably good training spot. It would be even better if it wasn't for this giant, like I referred to, phallus. This phallus spins every 3 to 5 minutes, annihilating anything in its path, including the zombies or the player. So this can be used to the player's benefit, as it can kill zombies and cycle rounds, but it is also something to be aware of. If you've played enough Ascension, you're used to this thing, and die to it seldom, but expect to revive new players constantly. Ascension is certainly a map where there's a right and a wrong way to leave the spawn room. Let's address the correct way first. Going up these stairs and taking a left will lead you to the first door. The player can now take a left to grab another door, or a right to a more open area. Seeing how power is to the right, we'll be heading this way. As the player continues down this path and explores this new area, they begin to realize just how large and open Ascension really is. Up these metal stairs is a large, wide open area, perfect for gathering up zombies and eliminating them early. The MP5K is available down near the door, which is a good option for the player if they truly like to utilize their points. However, it feels a lot less, dare I say, required to purchase this early game weapon on this map rather than on the prior map 5, as the player tends to feel a lot more safe up on this platform than they do camping by the elevator or in the war room. The night and day difference between Ascension and 5's difficulties is definitely noteworthy and will be studied later. The next door on this path leads the player back indoors to a more enclosed area. There are 2 flights of stairs to climb here before reaching another door on the top of these steps. Once this door is purchased, the player can pull the power switch and return color to the Ascension facility. Except it's still pretty brown and gray. The mystery box also always awaits the player's arrival across from the power switch. Usually the next few rounds will be spent rolling the box for the best possible weapons and defending yourself from the zombies that approach from the stairs, this window, and the roof to the side of the box. The other way to get up to the power is actually quite similar. Rather than buying the upstairs door out of spawn, the player must grab this door near Quick Revive. This will lead them up a narrow set of stairs to the jug location, which is usually extremely out of the way to reach, yet not a death trap like Kino and Doris. The next door is up another set of stairs and simply brings the player back to the same area they encountered using the prior path. From here, obviously, you're just 1 door away from power. I'll explain later why this is definitely not the preferred path for the player to take, but for now, just take my word for it. Although we've reached the power switch, which typically means we've almost explored the entire map, there is actually a lot of Ascension left to explore. The main thing the player is searching for at this point are the lunar lander calling stations. The only one we've discussed thus far is this one, atop that wide open platform we discussed earlier. From here, the player can call the lunar lander and ride it for 250 points after a brief cooldown. The lander ride is a sick experience for new players, especially ones that have been keeping up with zombie map releases. This is one of those moments it's fun to think about how this all started in a German airfield bunker with 3 rooms, right? The lunar lander will return the player to spawn, and these red meters will turn 1/3 green. It may be obvious to Doris lovers at this point that we are looking at a very similar, yet far cooler pack-a-punch process. The next lander can be found if you do in fact take this left after leaving spawn. A door must be purchased here, which leads to a tiny courtyard with another door on the side of it. Purchasing this door leads the player into a larger courtyard with wreckage and junk scattered around it. The second lunar lander is directly across from the player as they enter this area, and using it will fill up the bars another third. I should mention, by the way, you can use these landers in any order, similar to the teleporters on Derice. The last lander is just past this building that has the power switch. You can access this area by buying the door outside or buying this gate beside the power switch. Going up more stairs will lead the player to a door at the top of this structure, which leads directly to the final lunar lander. Once the bars in the spawn room are fully green, the player can now go back to the power switch and hit the button beside it. This will launch the rocket.
Stage 3 initiation complete. Luna Protocol online.
The rocket's departure allows this large metal door to open to reveal the area where the rocket once sat, and just past this large circular room, the Pack-a-Punch machine in all its glory. This is easily the best Pack-a-Punch quest to date, as it takes the already excellent Derice quest and adds landers and a rocket. What isn't there to love about this quest? I seriously can't think of a negative. Perfect difficulty, and for the first time since Derice, the Pack-a-Punch area is available for the rest of the game. This location is very useful for survival, as we'll discuss later. I love the layout in Pack-a-Punch Quest of Ascension. It feels like at this point, Treyarch has figured out a good formula to create a successful, fun map, and decided to add even more fun features to it. Something I can't get behind on Ascension, however, is its atmosphere. We've discussed before that a map's features can easily cancel out missing a vibe, but the vibe of Ascension is actually, dare I say, bad? It's brown and gray, even after the color gets turned on. I'd say the word that matches the visual vibes of Ascension the most is dull. Black Ops 3's iteration of Ascension, as we'll see toward the end of the video, fixed this in such a way that it exemplifies even more how much the atmosphere is lacking in this BO1 installment. The intriguing rockets and other features on this map may help the player ignore this for their first few playthroughs, but after this appeal wears off, it's very evident that this bleak atmosphere is not one to gloat about. All in all, however, Ascension is clearly off to a hot start, and from here, it will only get hotter. Ascension is finally the first map since Verrückt to introduce a new perk. As a matter of fact, it introduced two. Before we get to these new perks, however, I feel we need to address the fact that in classic zombie games such as this, the player can only purchase up to 4 perks at once. This means, if the player wants to use one of the new perks, they have to abandon either Jug, Speed, Quick Revive, or Double Tap. This decision is made a little easier on Ascension, as Treyarch purposefully left out Double Tap to encourage the player to try a new perk. As Zombies grows and more perks become available, these choices become far more strategic and individual per player. The first new option for a perk is Stamina Up. The Stamina Up machine is located over here by the second lander we discussed, and significantly increases the player's speed and sprint duration. Ascension was a great starting point for Stamina Up, as traveling across this large map can take quite a bit. Also, as we'll come to discuss later, this is a huge map for training, which is also made easier by Stamina Up. I feel like Stamina Up solidifies itself as the unofficial 5th perk in Zombies. Obviously, those introduced in Verrückt will always be the 4 OG perks, but Stamina Up will be on nearly every map from here on out and is a common go-to for the community. And now, we begin the most interesting perk narrative in Zombies history, PhD Flopper. PhD became such an important perk to the Zombies community, and fast. This perk actually has a few features, namely removing fall damage and explosive damage to the player. This completely reinvents the Mustang and Sally, while also preventing splash damage from the ray gun. On Kino and 5, using the Mustang and Sally could be seen as precarious. Shot too close, these things can easily take out the player, but now there's no more excuses. PhD also has a really cool dog dive mechanic, creating a large explosion if you dive from a higher area to a lower area. This perk, in my opinion, is very niche and situational. PhD isn't going to be much help if you're running a Galil and an MP40, for example, but if the player goes into the map with the intention of getting the Mustang and Sally, they should also go in with the intention of getting PhD Flopper. We'll see how this perk's iconic storyline progresses from now through BO2, but let's just refer to this part of PhD's story as its humble beginnings. And although we discussed Derice having the first technical Easter egg quest, being the Flytrap Easter egg, Ascension is the first map with a widely accepted Easter egg quest, being the Casimir Mechanism Easter egg. We will get into this egg specifics upon that section of the video, but I feel it's important to address that this is about to change zombies forever. Huh? What the hell is happening? Oh, god damn it. Introducing this map's variation of the dog round, the monkey round. One of the most hated special rounds in Zombies history. These little guys are seldom a threat to the player as far as killing them. What they are a threat to, however, are your perks. A round or two after the player buys their first perk, or in the case of solo buying Quick Revive, after the player turns on the power, the map will turn red and the ground will shake. Suddenly, these shuttles will slam their way into the Ascension facility, and out of them come little monkeys in spacesuits, similar to that one from Ned at the Museum 2. These monkeys will now charge after the perks the player has purchased. If a monkey gets onto a perk machine, the perk icon will begin to blink on the player's HUD. If they cannot remove the monkey or monkeys on the perk in time, they will lose that perk and have to repurchase. And yes, on solo, you lose a Quick Revive if they take it. F*** that, by the way. Now, the main reason we use the path that we use to open this map is because camping here by Quick Revive allows us to also protect Jug at the same time. Obviously, the two most important perks on solo. If the door above Jug is purchased, however, this ruins this strategy and makes the player scramble to keep the monkeys off the perks, which is exactly what you want to do if you want to get the latest drop in Zombies, a perk bottle. This perk bottle drop, perhaps obviously, will grant the player a free perk. This is clearly the most ironic map for this to happen, as now you have to protect a whole new perk in 4 to 5 rounds when the monkeys make their return. If a monkey so much as touches a perk machine or slams down near one, the player will not receive this free perk bottle. Something neat as well is that this free perk bottle drop bypasses the perk purchase limit, so it is possible to get all perks available on this map, but the players will need to ensure they guard every perk with their life. As with any dog round, however, monkey rounds will always conclude with a max ammo. Monkey rounds are definitely some of the worst when it comes to dog rounds, as they end up getting extremely beefy, and the fact that they can limit the amount of Quick Revives you get on solo is complete nonsense. I do like the idea, however, of the player making sure they're aware of where they are during a round's end, as being across the map from the perk they need to protect is stressful. I think if the monkeys were less beefed and the Quick Revive thing was fixed, this would be a fine dog round, but given those qualities, I'd have to say this dog round is rather poor. Ascension is definitely known for having some unique weapons on it. We'll start with the Thunder Gun, obviously being a familiar face from Kino. The Thunder Gun performs the same way it did on Kino, so I won't go too much into it, but let's just say having this type of weapon on this type of map makes it insane. The Bowie Knife makes its usual return on this map, but as a complete reskin, being the Sickle. This thing only makes a couple appearances in all of Zombies, and obviously is sick to use. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge Bowie Knife user, and a large complaint I have for the Sickle is that it appears so deep into Ascension, it's usually not purchasable until round like 7, and it's only a one knife through round 9. But like I said, a certain group of people love using the Bowie Knife and Sickle. I'll give the Sickle the edge just because it looks so much sicker. Both these weapons cost the exact amount and do the exact same amount of damage. Where Ascension really excels with new weaponry is its special grenades. It introduces 2. Let's start with the Matryoshka dolls. These dolls are so unique and so clever. They're basically like those Russian dolls that stack inside of each other, but imagine there's a little bit of C4 inside every one of these dolls. This creates a multitude of explosions, killing and crippling zombies. Similar to the Sickle, I feel the appeal to this weapon is mostly visual, but it does do a lot of damage on mid to early rounds and are extremely fun to use. And of course, I saved the best for last, being the Gersh devices. These things, quite literally, make a black hole that sucks zombies into it. Talk about a save me weapon. This thing is great for taking out hordes, covering a player during a revive, covering a player during a pack-a-punch, and so on. The player can also use the black hole to teleport to a random location on the map, making it useful for the sudden need to fast travel. Maybe a player went down across the map, or maybe an unexpected monkey round comes and you need to get back to Juggernog. The Gersh devices will at least give you a chance, but like I emphasized, its main feature is to wipe out the zombies, which it does excellently. Ascension is also known for having the smartest zombies in the franchise, as you can tell from this dude right here tucking and rolling to avoid my bullets. The zombies on this map can also predict the player's path more easily than the other maps, and can sway slightly to the side to dodge the bullets. Treyarch explained this by saying the soldiers that were zombified at the Ascension facility had prior combat training that left some sort of a mark on their zombified form, which is actually pretty cool. Obviously, we also need to address this giant swinging structure as a unique feature. This thing is actually known as a centrifuge. Centrifuges are often used by space companies like NASA to simulate gravitational forces for training astronauts and test certain space hardware before sending it into orbit. For our purposes, however, the centrifuge works as a form of a free trap. When the sirens go off, indicating the centrifuge is about to spin, the player should dart out of its way and allow the horde to be ambushed by it. This device can even end rounds, meaning if the player is low on points and ammo, the centrifuge can be used to take care of the zombies. There are a couple cool achievements Ascension has going for it as well. Space Race is an achievement that is unlocked by pack punching by round 8. This can be reasonably difficult, seeing how there's a new record number of doors on this map, plus the 5,000 point pack-a-punch purchase. Double points and MP5Ks are huge for this achievement. The other fun achievement I want to go over real quick is the Chimp on the Barbie achievement, which involves killing a space monkey with a fire trap. There are a couple fire traps on Ascension, being near the Stamina machine and by the Speed Cola machine. The player can pull the trap when they see monkeys approaching the areas with these perks and get their achievement. As you can see, lots and lots of features went into Ascension, including many that stuck and many that remained unique to the map. One thing that Ascension is most known for, however, is its ease. Now let's get into it. Ascension definitely goes down as one of the easiest early zombie maps, in part due to the Thundergun and Gert device, but also because of the abundance of really good training locations. There are 3 main training locations on this map, all of them on par or even easier than Kino's stage. The first and certainly easiest area is up on this platform we've been discussing here. I mean, I'm not sure what else there is to say here. This space is wide open. There's literally only one thing you can accidentally bump into. And since this area is up a staircase, you can also use the PhD dog dive feature to take out hordes as they approach the stairs. The area near the pack-a-punch is also a very nice location to round up the zombies. The room's circular layout makes a perfect path for the player to run. The only problem with this spot is it's very far from the spawn room, so players need to be careful to end round only when they're prepared for the potential monkey round. The last easy train to address is this training here in the spawn area. The huge caveat here is obviously the centrifuge, which the player needs to remain mindful of. As mentioned prior, however, experienced players can really make use of this, having it kill hordes at a time, saving the player on ammo on a game where ammo can be hard to come by at times. This area is definitely the trickiest to train out of these 3 spots, especially with the zombies dropping from above as seen here. But as stated earlier, this spot is very easy to get used to and abuse for high rounds. The world record on Ascension was set on March 13th, 2022 by Furret. To be honest, Furret really utilizes the whole map when setting his record, which is absurdly impressive. Obviously on the later rounds, he gets his kills with the various traps and the centrifuge, but seeing how he manages to train around the whole map is very impressive. Now it's time to get into what makes Ascension an all-time map, yet also its areas of failure. I feel Ascension's positives all come from its ease of use. Any group of players can load onto this map and spread out amongst the training spots this open map provides. The amount of training spots also adds lots of replayability for solo players, as they can use different strategies per game and truly utilize the openness of this experience. This ease, however, is also seen as a negative by a lot of the community. The lack thereof challenge leads a lot of players to find this experience boring, and the blandness of the atmosphere on this map does not help either. Personally, not only does the ease not bother me, but I see it as a huge positive. With the exception of Kino der Toten, I'd say Ascension is the only easy map on a game that's known for its challenging close quarter maps. The 3 DLC maps that follow all have an argument of being in the top 5 of hardest zombies maps ever, and obviously 5 is up there too. Kino and Ascension help balance the game out and provide casual gameplay for players who are simply looking to get in, kill zombies without the struggle that the other maps provide. This doesn't necessarily make Ascension better or worse than those maps, obviously, but I definitely think Ascension being rather easy works in the favor of BO1 as a whole. As I mentioned earlier, I'll only defend the monkey rounds to an extent, as I find some specifics of these rounds awful, despite the overall concept not being the worst thing in the world. Plus, for the people that complain that the map is too easy, the monkey rounds have the ability to somewhat contradict that. I feel that's all there is to say about the glaring positives and negatives of Ascension, outside of its immaculate relevance providing an Easter egg, which of course we'll get into later. But first, let's get into exactly what went down at the Ascension facility and what ended up happening to the crew at the Pentagon. The story of Ascension begins where Kino left off, with the Ultimus crew on a lunar lander high above the ground. Apparently, when traveling through the teleporter to Kino, Richtofen dropped his diary off at the Ascension facility. How, you ask? Well, so do I. So, no answers from me. Anyways, Richtofen drove the lander to the spawn room of the map, where they landed and heard the voice of Dr. Gersh, who, as I mentioned in the 5 video, has been trapped inside a Gersh device by Dr. Yuri Zavoisky after being possessed by Samantha. The goal of the Easter egg is in fact to free Gersh, an act in which they succeed. Gersh then becomes an ethereal being, grants Richtofen his diary back, and ends the outbreak at the Pentagon, saving JFK and all the rest. After recovering the diary and saving Gersh, Ultimus is able to use the Casimir mechanism to, again, travel across space and time. And so they do. A rather happy ending for all involved in this crisis. Everyone in the 5 crew survives, Dr. Gersh is freed, and the Ultimus crew is able to continue with their expedition. Don't get used to these happy endings. Ascension is the very first map in Zombies to have a widely accepted Easter egg. As I've mentioned, Derice will forever have an asterisk next to it as far as the Flytrap Easter egg goes, but I think everyone knows and respects Ascension as the first true map with an Easter egg, something almost every map will have going forwards, and eventually will become the main objective in a game of zombies. Ascension is still most certainly primarily a survival map, but seeing how main quests are introduced with this experience, this is a pivotal shifting point. From here on out, Easter eggs are going to be part of the focus for the development team at Treyarch, a shift controversial by the high-rounding community, yet a shift beloved by the hardcore Easter egg community. Anyways, upon spawning in, the players will immediately hear Dr. Gersh say they need to repair the Casimir mechanism. Unfortunately, Dr. Gersh is out of luck unless there are 4 players in the lobby, as lots of early Easter eggs require a full team of 4 to complete. Treyarch will eventually figure out that this was simply not the move, and will provide experience that are available on solo, 2-player, and 3-player. And on a side note, I wasn't about to make my friend group buy Ascension for Black Ops 1, so although the footage you see will be for solo, understand that this must be done on 4P. Anyways, the first Easter egg step requires perhaps the worst part of lots of Easter eggs, RNG. RNG stands for random number generation, which basically just refers to getting lucky in things that are out of the player's control. In this instance, the player must get a Gersh device to start the Easter egg, which is obviously pretty damn luck-based. RNG-based steps are extremely annoying and lead to lots of controversy among steps and Easter eggs. Ascension is pretty bad when it comes to needing good RNG, as we'll see for the final step, but some maps get way worse. Anyways, the first step involves throwing a Gersh device at this generator over here and sucking it up. After interacting with this computer, the players must now wait until a monkey round and interact with 4 buttons that come out of the walls near 4 perks on the map simultaneously. This is the only step that really requires 4 players, which is rather annoying that this step alone soft locks solo players out of doing the quest. After this, the players must survive for 90 seconds on this circle near the Pack-a-Punch, which can be done with the singular zombie if the players want to hold round. Then use the lunar lander to collect floating letters around the map that spell out the word Luna. Doing this requires 1 player on the lander and the other players bouncing them between proper lunar stations. After spelling out the word, this tiny light will appear here on the map. This light is actually Gersh. Now players must all at once shoot the bejesus out of this thing after throwing a Gersh device at it. This requires packed ray guns, thunder guns, Matryoshka dolls. Nothing outside of a wonder weapon will really work, so yeah, we're back to that RNG nonsense. Either way though, if the players unload enough shots into Gersh, he will float away, grant the player 90-second death machines, and the Easter egg is over. Very easy Easter egg as long as RNG is on your side. If Gersh does not start floating away, you did not provide enough damage and must try again. A couple side Easter eggs are also available on this map. A really cool one happens if you have a ray gun or a rocket launcher while launching the rocket. If you shoot the rocket with a ray gun, it will explode and leave double points down near the Pack-a-Punch machine. Players need to hurry to grab this. I really like this detail that Treyarch added in. Matryoshka dolls of the Ultimus crew can be found in various locations around the map, and interacting with them will provide a quote from the character the player is playing as. 3 red phones are also scattered around the map. One of these phones, random per game, will provide quotes from 5, meaning the characters from the Pentagon are on the other line. This is obviously a reference to the fact that the 3 red phones are significant on 5 for that map's Easter egg song. Speaking of Easter egg songs, the song on Ascension is called Abracadabra by Alina Seaman and Kevin Sherwood. To activate it, the player must interact with 3 teddy bears, one being here in spawn, here outside the fence by one of the landers, and here on the building across from another lander. Obviously, this section of these videos is really picking up steam, and it'll only continue to do so from here on out, as maps become more Easter egg and side quest oriented. Black Ops 1 has a campaign mission, Executive Order, and a multiplayer map, Launch, that take place around Cosmodrome similar to Ascension, but the layout and appearance of the map is fully unique to the Zombies map. Ascension appears like the other Ultimates maps on the BO3 Chronicles DLC, upgrading gun variety and adding a max ammo Easter egg. For this one, players need to obtain the Gersh devices from the box and throw it in these 3 areas to collect Samantha dolls. These throws can be a little difficult and take a few tries. Now you must find a Samantha doll a little outside the rocket area, interact with her, and shoot various Samantha dolls that spawn around the map, similar to all the other max ammo Easter eggs. After getting them all, interact with Samantha again to get your max ammo, and play the Samantha's Lullaby song. Another cool Easter egg in this version is the silhouette you can see outside the map in this window. If you've played BO3, you know who this is. I'm not sure if this is a hot take or anything, but I really do like Ascension, and I'm putting it on the top of our tier list so far in high A. I actually used to S tier this map, as I think it's one of the best survival maps just because of the variety of training locations. But like I said, the BO1 version especially is so freaking bland. BO3 picks up on it, but I forgot how bland this BO1 version is. It's so dull and gray and brown, and it's a disgusting looking map. But outside of that, I mean, this is a terrific map. You can train pretty much anywhere you want to. The monkey rounds are annoying. I guess that's another downside. But it's a great introductory map for new players. It's a great map to go on and just, you know, kill time, shoot zombies. I remember I've made it into like the 50s and 60s just, you know, on a football Sunday watching football, playing some Ascension. And that's what this map wants to be. This map isn't trying to make the player work super hard. This map isn't trying to, like, be a 5 or a Verrucht. This map is trying to provide a casual experience for the player and be a map you just go on, kill zombies, and have a good time. And I think that this map very much succeeded at giving the player, like, that ability to just go on and spray and pray and do all that stuff. So I love Ascension. It's one of my favorite maps. Like I said, it's probably going to end up bottom of the top 10 or just outside the top 10. But yeah, this is personally where I would put Ascension.
What's up, guys? It's Brent, or NC Honeycid as most of you know me, and I'll be ranking these videos from now on in a tier list along with Joe, just so you can see where our opinions differ on these tier lists here. I just want to start off by thanking you guys for the insane amount of support that we've gotten for these videos. This just blows my expectations way out of the water. I did not think we would get anywhere close to these amount of views, likes, and comments. You guys have been leaving some really supportive comments, and we really appreciate that and all the support you've given us. Yeah, thank you guys. But now getting into the tier list, me and Joe both agree on Noct and Shinonuma. They belong in C tier in my opinion. We both also agree on 5 and Verrucht here in B tier. But where I'm going to have to disagree with Joe is with Kino and Derice. I'm not going to say I don't like these maps, because I absolutely do. I grew up with all of these maps. You know, they all have a special place in my heart. But there's so many maps coming up that I'm not going to say I prefer yet, because we'll get into those later. I don't know. I just think these two maps are not quite deserving of A tier, although they're very close. I can definitely see why somebody would put Kino and Derice in A tier, but personally, I'm not going to. But, however, I believe Ascension does belong in A tier. Everything about Ascension, you know, the first Easter egg, the wide openness of the map, there's so many training spots. It's such a fun map to train on, just to play in general. So yeah, that's where I'm going to put Ascension. Thanks again, guys, for the support, and I'll hand it back to Joe.
These videos are getting long, man. But as always, I had an amazing time making it. Thank you all so much for watching. This series is truly growing, and I could not be happier that you guys are enjoying our content and supporting our series the way you have been. Make sure to share with your friends and continue to expand our series. It'll only get better from here. Till next time.